All right, hopefully that worked. Hi, Tiffany. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
No problem. Happy to be here.
I've had some technical difficulties, so I had to restart my computer. That's the always the fun stuff.
Oh yeah, preach, girl. I know all about that.
All right, now let's see if Zoom lets me share that. Yay! Okay. All right. So we'll just hang out here for a few minutes waiting for everybody to log on. And
No worries. I'm also like working on fixing dinner and stuff too. So I'm multitasking. So I like just figured I would turn off my video till you were just about ready for me to do my little spiel or whatever.
yes,
That's okay.
that is perfect. And you will be, let me actually pull up the slides and I'll tell you exactly which person and which slide you'll be after. So you can
Awesome.
kind of keep an eye on that.
Sounds good.
So yeah, I'll tell you in just a second. Since I had to restart, I'm like,
no worries. Take your time.
Rebooting everything.
That's also why, you know, I hop on early to things so that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Okay, so you will be after Carrie when she is talking about the program dashboard, numbers of children served, our goals for 2021, that kind of information.
Okay, sounds good.
Great, thank you. Okay. That. All right, I think we're good. All right. Yeah, there we go. All right, awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. And I'm super excited. I'm Julia Uhas. I'm the outreach consultant for CASA of the Eastern Panhandle. I'm super excited to have all of you join us here this evening. We've got a great group of people, and I just want to say thanks to our team that is here with us today. And I will hand it off to Michelle, and we will get going.
Thank you, Julia. Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Suddick, and I'm the Executive Director of the Eastern Panhandle. So welcome to our open house tonight. I'm looking forward to having all of you learn a lot more about the CASA mission. which is to bring hope to really the most vulnerable kids in our communities. These are kids who are before the courts because of abuse or neglect. And our CASA advocates, which we hope you will become one, really help and are the voice for these children in court and in the community. So I'd like to just take a minute and really introduce the team. These are all people who support the work of volunteers. No one's in this alone, and we have an amazing staff team. So Carrie Lefebvre, volunteer supervisor, Melody Stotler, volunteer supervisor, Nikki Johnson, she's our program coordinator and working on our diversity initiatives, and Sarah Pauletti, our newest volunteer supervisor. And let's see, I'm not sure. Do we have Dell somewhere? I'm probably missing people, but you'll probably hear from them in the course of the evening. I also want to really thank our current volunteers who've jumped on today to help tell the CASA story, because no one does it better than you. So thank you so much for not only serving the kids, but helping to build the program. So I think my next job, Julia, who's our awesome outreach coordinator, who many of you have probably met. I think my next job, Julia, is to introduce the video. Is that what we're doing next?
Yes.
So yes, have a great open house, and thanks everyone for doing what you do.
So the video that we are going to share right now, this is a really great, just sort of general introduction to what CASA is and what our advocates do, and the function that we perform, not just in kind of the immediate needs for children, but also kind of in the long-term perspective. So give me just a minute and you should be seeing this and hearing this.
Growing up is tough for a kid. They have school and homework, practices and games. There are doctor's appointments and detention halls. The making friends and the keeping friends, discovering who they are and who they aren't. There's so much to learn. There's this whole world out there, right here. These times are transforming in someone's story, and they can really be quite chaotic. That chaos of being a child only increases when abuse and neglect fill their home. The normal winds of chaos are now a storm, and sometimes, when the storm is so great, a child must be removed from their home. And this is a really tough day. It's complicated and it's painful. When a child is removed from their home because of abuse or neglect, they leave their normal and they enter foster care. The court sends them to a new place, a new home, often to a new school with new people, new everything. And all of these new things aim at a better life for the child. They aim to help in the healing process for the family. But it's still tough. They still have the school activities, the doctor's appointments, and the lessons to learn. But now court dates, visits with parents, and check-ins with social workers quickly bombard the calendar. And there's the pain of separation from what they know and where they feel comfortable. There are hundreds of children in our city who experience chaotic days like this, weeks like this, years like this. And these days, weeks, and years are difficult. They're exhausting and isolating. They're really tough. But there are ways to help. Ways to bear the burdens the child is carrying. Ways to make the days less tough. These children need to feel more supported. They need someone constant who is on their team. Someone who is fighting for their best amidst all the shuffle. And a CASA volunteer provides this help. A court-appointed special advocate helps bear these burdens. They are the constant amidst the chaos. In the middle of all the shuffle and uncertainty, they know the child. There are still tough days, but now there's someone standing up for the child, day in, day out. Someone who knows both the biological and foster parents. Someone who meets with the teachers, doctors, and social workers to ensure the child's needs are being met. Someone who speaks for the child's best interest in court. Someone who the judge counts on for insight. Someone who cares about the child and just lets them be a kid. Someone who is there for the tough days, the great days, and the in-between days. This someone is so important. This someone is a CASA volunteer. And there are hundreds of children in our city waiting for a CASA volunteer. They're waiting for someone to speak up for them. They're waiting for someone to help weather the storm. Each child in foster care needs this support, this someone to count on. Be this someone for a child in foster care. Be their advocate. Be a powerful voice for their best interest. Be a CASA volunteer.
So with that, we want to let you know a little bit about what CASA advocates do and our mission. So the mission of CASA of the Eastern Panhandle is to provide a voice for children in the child welfare foster care system who have been removed from their homes due to abuse or neglect, and to, most importantly, provide a voice for them in our community. So tonight you're going to get to hear directly from one of our current advocates, Tiffany Remsberg, and we're going to see her probably in about a few minutes, maybe 10, 15 minutes. But we're going to talk a little bit about our program first and give you sort of an introduction to our team and to our program as a result of that. So we are there for the child to provide them a secure, loving home, either to find permanency for them in a new home or reunite them, ideally, when that is safe and when that is possible. So with that, we know that children, this is also an important thing I need to mention, that we know that children who have experienced abuse or neglect are always going to be more likely to succeed in school, that they are half as likely to re-enter the foster care system, and that they are more likely to find a safe and permanent home. So they spend about 5 months less in the foster care system. And generally speaking, we're talking about a roughly, at least in, I think it was 2020, we saw about a $2.5 million savings through to the state through CASA programs. So it's a really powerful program, a really impactful program, not just for our community, but for our state as a whole. So I want to introduce you to Carrie Lefebvre. She is going to talk to you a little bit about our program dashboard. And then after that, we'll get to meet our featured advocate.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I just love that video. I was chatting with Julia and telling her how much I love that video because I think it does such a good job of painting a quick, broad picture about the work that CASA does. But what does that look like here locally? CASA of the Eastern Panhandle serves Berkeley, Jefferson, and Morgan counties. And in that, we see approximately 560 children before the courts right now at this given time. That is across the 3 counties, and that accounts for every single child who is named on a abuse and neglect petition for those 3 counties. In the year 2020, despite the fact that it was such a tragic year for so many people, we had tremendous opportunity for growth as a program, and we were able to serve 324 children out of that 500 to 550 number of children before the courts. That was an increase of over 50% from the year before that. And right now we have 54 CASA volunteers who are serving 182 children. Again, that leaves us with about 70% of the kids who still don't have somebody speaking on their behalf. So this year, our goal is to recruit and train 40 new volunteers, and hopefully that will increase our capacity to serve the children in our communities.
So as Carrie mentioned, we are hoping to recruit 40 new volunteers in 2021 for a total of 100 volunteers and serving 400 children. Again, last year in 2020, we served 325 children, and we are looking forward to improving that number yet again, year on year on year, serving more children in our community who really truly need a voice in the court system and in our community. So I would like to invite Tiffany Remsberg. Tiffany is a co-CASA with I'm going to show her screen real quick. Tiffany is, excuse me, just 1 second. Hopefully you all are seeing that. Somebody give me, okay, great, thank you. So Tiffany Remsberg has a co-CASA partner who isn't able to be with us tonight, but her name is Becky Allmeter. And Tiffany and Becky have been with us since September of 2019. And they are our first team to be featured in this sort of setting in a virtual open house, because we think it's really important for people to know about the co-CASA partnership. It's a really great partnership for people that are in particular that are new to co-CASA or to CASA advocacy, but also it's an exceptional way to still volunteer and still serve your community in a way that still allows you to be either full-time employed or part-time or retired and, you know, traveling the world. So Tiffany, thank you so much for being with us tonight and for sharing your story. And this is a great opportunity for all of you that are in here tonight to go ahead and shoot us your questions through the chat, and we will try to answer them, either hand them off to Tiffany or answer them through our staff. So again, Tiffany, thank you. And we look forward to hearing from you.
All right. Can you hear me okay? All right. So I guess really how I got into this is I worked with one of the ladies whose husband sits on the board, and the CASA program was hosting paint nights, and I had always wanted to go to a paint night. And so my friend Jennifer drags me along, and I start listening. And I was really interested in the program, listening to it. So Jennifer and I are both school teachers. So I teach full time at Hedgesville Middle School in Berkeley County. And we went to this paint night, had a good time, kind of learned a little bit about the program. And then they were hosting another one, and I just wanted to go for paint night. So I kept like being this weird person showing up at these paint nights pretty consistently. And I kept kind of just listening to the story of what CASA does, and being an educator, it really tugged at my heartstrings. Often as educators, we are the person who makes the call to CPS. We're the top reporter in the state. So what a lot of people don't realize is when we make that call, because I've had to make it, thank God, not very many times, but enough times that I know what I'm doing. When we make that call, that's all that happens. When we hang up the phone, it is completely out of our hands. At that point, we get zero feedback. We know nothing else other than anything that child may or may not share. So it's really hard to care that much about a child and know something is wrong and you can't do anything else. So it was really tugging at my heartstrings at these paint nights that I wanted to know more. So I, on a whim, got up from my little paint station and walked up. I don't even remember which board member I approached, but I said, "Hi, my name is Tiffany Remsburg, and I want to do this." And so she took my information, and here we are 2 years later. During my training, so the summer of 2019, Dell and the volunteer coordinators at the time hosted a boot camp of training. So for 4 days, I spent 8 hours a day at the CASA office, and it was like a boot camp of just all of this information coming in, and we practiced and we worked through some simulation cases and things. And throughout that process, I got to know my partner, Becky, very well. She's a retired high school principal, so we clicked on the education level. And I knew going into this, being a full-time educator, that I wasn't going to be able to make every court commitment, or, you know, during my school day, I'm at school. So there's no way I'm going to be able to meet a child at school. Other than email, I'm probably not going to get to have a teacher conference, stuff like that. So I kind of went into this knowing that I was going to need a partner. And Becky kind of was talking one day about maybe she would prefer to have a partner. And I was like, "Hi, we should be friends." And that is absolutely how our friendship started. And not only is she a great friend to me now, but she is a phenomenal partner to me. It's funny. Becky does a really good job at asking very open-ended questions, and she can really get the person talking about the situation. And I am really good at note taking. So I am just over there, and I have a pretty good memory for details of things. Specifically, I think because I'm a teacher and because I teach language arts, the way someone says something or the way that they phrase it, that really sticks with me. So we go to almost all of our visits together, and then I sit down and I write our report, and then Becky proofreads, and usually she's the one that goes to court for us. It was kind of intimidating for us, the thought of going to court. Never have we ever had to speak in court, so it's not as much pressure, I think, as some people think it could be. I don't spend a lot of time in court, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. But it's very interesting to see it play out, from the CASA side. Since I'm an educator and I often don't get that, it's brought a lot of light to my situations, and I have then been able to share, obviously not the details of my cases, but the details of what happens after we make that call with my team and with my peers in my building. And so that's been really interesting. And the partnership has been great because at least one of us has been able to be at every single event for both of the cases that we have worked. And so it's been really nice. It's been super rewarding. And I can't imagine doing it without a partner because of being a full-time person. But I also don't think it's a time constraint either that I would have to have a partner. It's just that I can't be at court and I would like for a human to be there. So that's my experience. I hope I covered what you guys wanted me to, Julia and Carrie. If I left anything out.
So one of the questions that we think is always really helpful for people to know is how does it work as a co-CASA team? I know that you and Becky really have kind of this beautiful relationship, but could you speak to that a little bit more and let people know what options are there for them?
So for the two of us, like I said, we have found I am often the one behind the scenes doing the writing. She is often the one proofreading and showing up to court in case the judge would have a question or two or anything, not that it happens often. But we go to almost all of our home visits together. Like we meet, at the house or at an away visit, or one of our cases, actually, we took a trek 3 hours away to where our child was placed. So we work together on all of those. There have been a couple of occasions. One event I was out of town and she went and did the first meeting with one of the respondents on the case. So we kind of divvy it up where we can. There have been times that she hasn't been able to make it. So I've gone to a meeting with a respondent or with the child or to the foster home. So it just kind of, we have a very fluid relationship, I think. Like neither of us are really set in stone about like, this is my job, this is my job. There have been a couple of times where I just say, Becky, I don't have time to get this drafted. Real life is catching up with me, and she has no problem drafting something out, and then I add my tidbits into it. So I think I was very blessed to receive, Becky being a member of my training group and being able to go through that with her, because then we both understood kind of the expectations the same way. We had the same experience with training. So I think that's kind of how our relationship works, is that we are able to just make those adjustments when necessary. So it's super beneficial for me, and I think for her, to have a partner.
Can you give us an example of maybe some of the topics or subject matter that's covered during a court session? And that's not necessarily specific to, being a co-CASA. And then a second question that we've gotten from the crowd is, does a volunteer usually work on only one case at a time? And I know the answer to that, but if you have a different answer to that, Carrie may have another answer to that. So if you want to take either of those, that would be great.
Yeah. So pretty much anything can be brought up in court. Often, I think CASA doesn't always get in at the very first court case. We jumped in right in the middle of one of our cases. It had actually been going on for about a year when we picked it up and started running with it. So pretty much everything gets covered. There have been discussions of custody. The parental rights have, been in question. How visits are going, all of the reports are covered from various individuals, not just CASA's report, but like DHHR writes a report, any supervised visits that might have been ordered. So the judge goes over all of those things. So it's kind of an open book. Some of our cases have been in and out in 30 minutes, and some of them have been 3 hours, and we've covered everything under the moon. So it's just kind of dependent upon where your case is in the process of working through improvement periods or any of that kind of stuff. And as far as the number of cases, I currently am assigned to, Becky and I are currently assigned to 2 cases. Becky's actually leaving me, she's moving. And I have another person who has so graciously agreed to be my partner, someone Becky actually introduced me to. So I'm getting ready to kind of double up on finishing a case with her. So I'll sort of be on 3 cases, but another of mine is getting ready to end and hers is getting ready to end. So it sounds like I'm working 3 cases, but I'm not. I'm finishing up 2 and I have 1 pretty active. I think that Carrie and all of the other volunteer supervisors do a phenomenal job at working with you at your comfort level. So if you have a case that is taking up a lot of your time and that you feel you need to dedicate, like, I have to give all of my power to this case because of XYZ, they are really phenomenal about understanding that. If you have a case that's not moving, not doing a whole lot, and you're willing to take on another one and you have the means to do so, they're also really great about saying, hey, like, these are your options. And I think also that's kind of not talked about very often, and it was a shock to me. Like, you get to pick your case. They don't just blindly stick you with one. I think that's really intimidating for people to think, I'm just going to get this case slapped in my lap and have to run with it. But when Becky and I took on our first case, we met at the CASA office and we had like 5 cases in front of us, and we got to read through and decide which one we felt like we could do the most benefit for. So I also think maybe that's not talked about, and it's an intimidating thing for people. Me, for instance, I'm an educator, but I am not an infant person. So I knew going into this that I would prefer to work with young adolescents and kind of that age group. And I've said that from the get-go, and I've been able to. So I think that's also something for people to keep in mind, is you have some autonomy in what you do. And if they have something that needs covered, or if the courts are asking, they'll send out a message that says, hey, CASA, the courts are asking for a CASA for this. So if you're interested or you think you would be of benefit in this case, let us know and we'll get you set up. So I think that's also something to keep in mind.
Thank you. That's really helpful information. I do want to ask one last question, and I'm feeding you this a little bit because I know that we've had some amazing conversations about this before, but what are some of the things that you have done as a CASA that you have made, that that you have made an impact on children in your cases? And I do know, is very specifically because you are an educator and you've said this, one of the pieces definitely does have to do with the fact that you can advocate in the school system. So that's a unique position, but what other things do you feel you've brought to the table to provide an impact for the children you served, and families, not just children, their families?
I think definitely for me, like you said, obviously the biggest one is education. Often, not always, I think kids in these cases, because of their situations, tend to need more help in school. So seeing their situation through the lens of an educator who, like, I don't have children of my own. So I see everything as a teacher. And so that is always like my first question is, how are they doing in school? What do you, and I ask the kids that too, what do you like about school? Tell me what you enjoy. Recess, lunchtime, science class, that kind of stuff. So I'm always a huge advocate in the school system. I've been able to guide a couple of foster parents through the process of an IEP or 504 as an educator, which is a huge thing for a student who has those needs. So that for me has been super special, that I've been able to give someone that information that they maybe didn't have before. And it, like an IEP 504 process to a parent who's never experienced it, it's intimidating. And not that, by no means am I dissing any of the special educators, but they do it so often every day that sometimes those conversations just happen fast and you don't realize what questions you have till it's done. So it's been really great for me to be on the other side of that and be able to answer some of those questions. But I also, in one of my cases, I think being able to watch the development between the child and whatever their situation is, whether, I don't know that I have the great impact on that, but being able to see it and see the child's interactions with the people around them, and then tell the judge, this is what I see happening in this situation, in that situation, versus whatever, I can see then how that sways the judge's decision for the best interest of the child. And like Julia said at the beginning, you know, obviously reunification with the family is CASA's first goal. We're not here to break up families, but, you know, that's the greatest thing, is you can totally be this kind of objective eyeball. Like that's the easiest way that I describe it to new people who haven't really heard of CASA, is I just get to be a set of eyeballs where the judge can't be. And I write my report and walk away. And so it's very interesting to me to be able to watch the relationships that are forming and growing, and to be able to report that back.
So one of the questions that we are also getting is, what would you say to someone who is interested in volunteering? And certainly because you've been in this position, what would you say to someone who's interested in volunteering but might be hesitant?
I think the best thing that I did was just jump. Like, I jumped in feet first. I didn't think much more than twice about it. You know, it was literally the second paint night I signed up. It was in May. I did my training in July, and I had my case in September. So I jumped in, and this is me by nature. I'm not afraid to ask you questions. I hate doing something twice or not doing something right. Like, I want to do something to the best of my ability. And I think if you're volunteering for a position like that, like this, you're probably that kind of a driven person. So for me, it was second nature to just ask questions. And probably my volunteer supervisors were tired of seeing my email come across during my first case, but I just wanted to make sure I did things right. And I think if you're hesitant, I totally understand that. It's an intimidating kind of process to know that you're appearing in front of the court and you're writing these reports, but there are so many people behind you, not just the volunteer supervisors, but also other CASAs. We have a monthly chat and chew. Well, actually, I think it's bi-monthly now. They're holding a Wednesday version and a Saturday version. So once a month, you can just meet with other CASAs and be like, hey, this is my situation. What's your advice? And, you know, everybody's had different experiences with their cases. So there's a whole team of those 54 people that you'll get to talk to, you know, these 5 people this day or these 5 people that day. So you never feel like you're alone in this at all, even if you're not, you know, directly working with a partner.
All right, I want to give the floor to Brittany Green. Brittany, give me just 1 second. I think that you have audio right now. Please give us a shout and go ahead and ask your question.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep, you're great.
So I currently work for the FBI in DC. So my question is it hesitant or looked down upon because of my investigative background and whatnot, I would pick up on certain things. So when you say a respondent and going into these home visits, are we going in with law enforcement or a social worker? Only because and do we ever get the question of, you know, like, what do you do for a living? Because I know some of these children can be kind of scared of law enforcement, and that's, you know, we want to portray like they're you know, law enforcement is your friend. We always, if something happens, you know, you need to tell somebody. But how do you handle those situations?
So Tiffany, that is an absolutely fantastic question. I'm going to throw that off to our staff. So Carrie or Del Pope, I'm going to actually hand it off to Del first and foremost. Del, if you want to answer that. Del is our Director of Training and Development, and he's been with CASA for 8 or 9 years, I think, Del. So your experience is probably the best on this particular question.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Brittany. Thank you for your question. Our cases, this work that we do, and these juvenile abuse and neglect cases are confidential. And so, in terms of information, none of our previous occupations ever come into play when we are in the role of CASA. Should someone inquire, you know, just remind them that this work is confidential, and that's really not particular to the case that you're working. I would also say to you, you asked a question related to respondents. The respondents in our cases are generally the parents or the guardians of the children. And to date, we've not had any security or safety concerns. We've not had any issues with safety with any of our advocates. Again, I've been at this for just less than 9 years now, and I've never seen an instance where our advocates have run into safety concerns. Also, in our training, we address that, and we say to you, as the advocate, if you are in a situation and your third eye comes on, and you are uncomfortable in that situation, or you pull up to a house and something kind of triggers you, and you feel uncomfortable in that situation, you have all liberty to remove yourself from that situation or not engage. You can contact the person that you're visiting with, let them know that you need to reschedule. We give you that latitude as the advocate. All right. And so you won't necessarily have safety concerns. Carrie, you want to jump in here?
I think you hit all the points I was going to go for. But absolutely, we take safety very seriously, and we 100% will support you in any concerns that you might have.
So I guess I would just add to.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I was just going to say, certainly if you're uncomfortable even from the get-go, or this is your first home visit, our volunteer supervisors will accompany you. So you are not in this alone.
Absolutely.
So I was going to use that question because I think this is a great opportunity for us to segue over to Del so that he can tell you a little bit more about our training and that process. Give me just 1 second. Del, I'm going to give you the spotlight here for a second to introduce yourself, and then I'll show our details on the training.
Well, thank you, Julia. And once again, good evening to everyone. My name is Del Pope. I am the Director of training and staff development. I apologize that my background is not up. I'm using my personal laptop and I don't have my green screen up behind me. So that's why you don't see my CASA background. But I am the lead person in our training classes. We hold those training classes virtually, and we do them quarterly. We do a quarterly virtual in-person training. And along with that training, we also have a self-paced guided learning class for those who are not able to attend our in-person virtual training. And if you'd like more information regarding that, we can have a conversation about that. You can talk to me, you can talk to Carrie, and we'd be more than happy to talk to you further about the self-paced guided learning. I want to throw this out for you tonight. I really consider our training to be a journey of discovery. It is a journey of discovery of the skills that we need to serve as advocates. It is a journey of discovery of self. There will be moments in the training that will really challenge you to examine yourself, your values, your morals, your ethics, your ideologies. And then it is also a journey of discovery of the abuse and neglect court system in the 23rd Circuit of West Virginia, where we serve. What you will find in our training, we will discuss the essential components of our work. We share this as an acronym, IFAM. We investigate, we facilitate, we advocate, and we monitor. And we'll unpack all of those in class. You just get the Reader's Digest version today. All right. So also over the 8 classes that we have, of course, we introduce you to the CASA role. We give you information about CPS and the abuse and neglect court system. We look at child trauma. We spend some time around child trauma. We look at resilience, mental health. We have a piece on substance abuse. We have a staff person who leads us in a tremendous session on substance abuse. We talk about domestic violence, cultural competence, and all of those in all of those classes, we share in training videos. We do some role play. We do case studies so that you have an opportunity to get the full experience of what it would be to work a case as a CASA. Now, I want to say this to you. Again, our training is quarterly. And if you are interested in the self-paced guided learning, we can have a conversation about that. Currently, we have 2 people who are going through our self-paced guided learning. But I want to give you the dates for our next in-person virtual volunteer training. It will run May 24th rather. I'm sorry, May 24th through June 4th. All right, and we do 4 hours daily over 8 days. All right, we do 4 days. We take the weekend off. We come back. We do 4 days, and you complete the training. All right, Monday through Thursday, 1 to 4:30 p.m. Each day. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else? I've talked about self-paced. I think that's everything. Did I have another slide, Julie? Or is that it? That's it. All right, very good. So,
that's it, Del. But please, anything else you have to add?
If you have questions regarding training, I'd love to try to answer those as best as I can today. If not, you can always email us. Oh, let me talk about process real quick. You will, the application process, you will interview with Carrie Lefebvre. She'll, once you have your interview with her, the next step in the process, we run background checks. Once our background checks are done, then we will get in touch with you regarding when the next training is coming, and you will be in the queue for that next training. Depending on when you interview, I see Matt Douglas asked this question, depending on when you interview, you may sometimes have to wait 6 weeks or so to get to the next in-person virtual training, which is why we have introduced this self-paced guided learning if you want to get involved a little sooner. All right, so hopefully, Matt, I answered your question. And if anybody else has questions, let me see. Is there a knowledge base cloud drive for training? Okay, good. All right, so what we do with the in-person virtual training, we will send you a soft copy of the national training curriculum. And if you prefer, we can deliver you a hard copy of that national training curriculum. You will also receive, there are other documents involved with that, the West Virginia Code that we use. We'll give you soft copies of all of that, so you will have the ability to follow along on your own devices as we go through the class. Again, if your preference is hard copy, we can make that happen for you as well. With the self-paced guided learning, we have a different curriculum that comes from the National CASA office that we use, and it is cloud-based. And so we will send you all of that information generally through Google Drive.
Thank you, Del. So I am just going to pop, to make sure that I follow up on this, I'm going to pop our application into the chat link, and Nikki will put this into the Facebook Live chat so folks on Facebook can get it there. So if you are interested in applying, you can complete the application through our online application. It takes about 20 minutes to complete. That is the national kind of application requirement that gives us all of your background check information that we need to start that process. And so Matt has one more question, Del. What does the end of a case look like? So for example, does it end with a monitor stage? And if it's appropriate, maybe Tiffany will add a piece in there too, but Del, I'll let you fill that one.
All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna ask Carrie to jump in here with me because she's my tag team partner.
I'm here.
And so Carrie, just kind of, if you would, just kind of talk about or speak to Matt's question, if you would.
Absolutely. So when you become assigned to a CASA case, we ask that your commitment be that you follow the case until permanency has been achieved, whatever that looks like for the child. As Julia said earlier, permanency can be reunification with their birth family, or it can mean the complete opposite side of the spectrum, adoption by their foster family. So you would stay with the case until that resolution has been, decided upon, whether the child returns home and the case is dismissed, or parents' rights are terminated and the child achieves some other level of permanency. That can take anywhere from 6 months to about a year. For the most part, there are some outliers always, but for the most part, it's about 6 months to a year.
So I think, Carrie, this is a great segue for one of our favorite videos, which is Elise's story. And this is a video, a true story of a mother and a daughter who were reunited because of CASA. So this is a great example of what that looks like from the beginning of the stage and what brought them to that situation and that circumstance, as well as what looks like probably around 8 years later. And so you can really get a sense of the impact that this has on not just a child's life, but potentially generations moving forward.
I struggled with addiction from the time I was younger, early middle school, and it wasn't until I was prescribed pain pills from a doctor that I just was like, I had no idea that the level of addiction could get to the point where your physical body hurt if you weren't taking something. I was pregnant, I was in and out of jail. I didn't know that there was a different way of life for anyone that was living the existence that I was. It was full of trauma and pain. When you are locked up, you have no idea if your child is safe. You just had a brand new baby. You're trying to communicate with the jail. No one's giving you answers. You're not getting to court. You have no visit from a social worker. You have no money on your books to call someone, even if you had a number. Like, that is terrifying, right? Terrifying. And I spent months in that state. All of a sudden, this woman came into the jail, and she sat in front of me, and she told me she was my daughter's CASA, and I had no idea what that meant. But when I heard, like, your daughter, that was something I could hold on to. And she put the picture of my baby in front of me, and I had only ever held my daughter for a few seconds. So just like looking at that picture and seeing this beautiful little girl shining bright. And Michelle told me that she knows that I would have a really hard journey, but that, like, you know, there's something worthwhile in the whole entire experience, and that, you know, I could put one foot in front of another and hold my head high and do what I needed to do because that little girl needed me. And so rather than looking at me in my current state in the handcuffs and in the red uniform, I believe that she saw me for the potential. She saw my heart, and she poured life into me. I swear, like, every time I touch her hand, it's just this reminder of how precious life is and how precious she is. And she, like, loves her mommy. She, like, longs for her mommy, you know. And I'm just so honored that through all the pain I've been able to heal. And she deserves that, you know. She deserves that. But I needed people walking alongside of me, pouring life into me. Anything is possible when someone cares. Absolutely. We have a bright future. And Michelle did that for me. And she did that for my daughter, more importantly. And, you know, today is the benefit and the outcome 9 years later. Like, my daughter and I are so close, all over my office. I mean, she calls me BME, best mom ever. I call her BDE, best daughter ever. She's so special, you know? And I'm so grateful that there was someone who reminded me, even in the darkest time and in the darkest place. And I wish that more individuals like Michelle, like other CASAs, like other professionals will come and remind people at their lowest moments that this doesn't have to be your future.
That one always gets me. So we're kind of at the close of our presentation this evening, and I just wanted to open up the table a little bit longer for more questions if we have more questions, as well as let you all know that there is something happening very important right now, not only if you are considering becoming a CASA, but if you would like to support what we do. The Unity campaign through the United Way of the Eastern Panhandle is happening right now, and it ends tomorrow. So if you're kind of on the fence for any reason about becoming an advocate yourself, you can still really support what we do. You can still support the advocates that we have right now. You can support our staff and our program development by being a part of the Unity campaign and giving through Unity. One of the amazing things about this program is that it specifically supports Fostering Futures. Fostering Futures is a program that is specifically designed for older youth that are aging out of the foster care system. They're one of the most vulnerable populations that is in the nation, and hundreds of children every year age out of the system in West Virginia alone. So Fostering Futures is a program that our team has designed and our board has designed in partnership with some other people in the community to help grow resiliency and self-sufficiency skills to support those youth that are aging out of the system. So I just want to invite you to help join us in that opportunity. Our goal is $10,000 to grow that program, and we were almost at 7 last time I checked earlier today, which is really exciting. So anyway, if you want to be a part of that, I'll shoot the link to you as well in the chat session. And then I also want to invite you to participate in our info session survey. That link is there as well. You can give us your feedback on what we've shared today and how we can improve. So if we've given you good information, or if there is information that you still want or think is important for us to share that we may have missed. So we do still have a question, Matt. So I'm actually going to let our staff answer this question about our process for application, etc. Carrie or Dell, if you guys want to take that.
So for the most part, Matt, you do have that correct. I would say, though, that as long as you meet the background check requirements and the basic minimum requirements, we welcome all people who want to give to our program. We believe that everybody brings something unique to the program, so we don't really not accept people. I don't know how to explain it. So we don't turn you away as long as you will meet the background checks. So if you're interested, I definitely would encourage you to apply so that we can get that process rolling and go through it.
It's a year later and I still forget to unmute myself. So if anybody else has any questions, we've still got, maybe 5 minutes left. I just want to open the floor to anybody that wants to speak up. Please feel free. Awesome. Matt, we are very excited to have you apply, and we'll very much look forward to having you on our team. All right. Well, thank you guys. I'm being a little informal and say that thank you all, gentlemen, gentlewomen. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to be here with us. We really, really appreciate Tiffany, and I want to give a specific shout out to Amber Griffith. Tiffany and Amber are both CASAs with our program with CASA-EP, and so we really appreciate the time that they take out. Our volunteers are amazing, and for me specifically, I just am amazed because there are so many people that join in sharing the message of what we do and willingly give of their time, not only to the children and families, but also to sharing that mission. So thank you guys, Tiffany and Amber, for giving of your time today. And we look forward to having everybody else, share their questions. If it's on Facebook or you just want to shoot it to us, you can email us at volunteer@mycasaep.org. You can check us out online at www.mycasaep.org and all of the usual social places. Thank you to our team for being here tonight. And we look really forward to talking to you all in the future. Have a great evening, everybody.